Gentlemen and some ladies, welcome to the War on Dad Bods podcast. Lucky day today. We've got a guy named Bobby Shelton is in the house, not to be confused with my father-in-law, Bobby Shelby, which sometimes my text messages can get mixed up. One of the most interesting things about Bobby is Bobby has lost 180 pounds. And if you're looking at your YouTube screen right now, this is a picture of Bobby before and after losing 180 pounds or something whereabouts. Very impressive. Bobby's on top of it. A little more about Bobby. He is an entrepreneur coach and recently completed his doctorate of strategic leadership degree from Liberty University. Over the past 15 years, Bobby has provided exceptional program management, acquisition management, and business process support to the United States government and private industry customers. In 2020, Bobby started a self-improvement journey, which resulted in a 180-pound weight loss and reversing his life from depression and anxiety, providing a newfound desire to help others begin to make changes and improve their lives along the way. Bobby's currently writing a book called The Easy Hard versus the Hard Hard, and that's also started his own podcast under the same title, Easy Hard versus Hard Hard, with the purpose of helping others find the work that actually matters to them. Bobby has a unique combination of being a super nerd when it comes to coaching. And then the thing I value most is he has the personal experience of losing all this weight and transforming his life, his mindset, his body. That's one hell of a combination. Bobby, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah. So I want to jump right into it. Actually, hold on. Let me share this real quick and give you an official. Bobby, welcome to the podcast. Good share. I put that in morning class all the time. All right. Jumping right into it, Bobby. Take us back to when you're 180 pounds overweight. How did you get into that spot? And what was the moment when you decided enough is enough?
Yeah, obviously you don't get to that spot overnight. So I grew up relatively fit, was in the army. I had an injury out of the army, and I just used it as an excuse. And I I I let the pain of my body just stop doing everything, right? And then I started giving up on myself. I started giving up on life. And before I know it, and it does creep up on you because you don't realize you're as big as you are. You buy other clothes or something like that, but you just don't notice it, right? Because it's gradual to you. And then one day I'm at a doctor's appointment for what turned out to be a hernia, and I step on the scale and it was 354 pounds. And that was like such a wake up call to me that I had to do something. And even the doctor who needed to do the surgery was like, I can't operate on you until you get down to like 280. And he's like, I don't even know if you'll be able to do that. And I said, well, hey, let's just see where it goes. And needless to say, I didn't expect to lose 180 pounds. But going through the journey, it's just what happened. And I learned a lot from that. I probably did a lot of things that were unhealthy, even though they appeared healthy. And then after you get down to that 180, I was probably way underweight. And so then I've worked the last few years to build up muscle and change kind of my eating habits and all that stuff just because then I was focused on health.
Um, so before, when you had this 180 pound plus 354, I think you said lifestyle, what was your day like then? And like, what is your day like now? Like, what's different about what your day is like?
Yeah, I mean the days are vastly different as you can imagine. So when I was in that heavier state, you mentioned the bio. I mean, I was very depressed, and one thing I would do is I would mindlessly eat. I remember going to Rite Aid and buying like 2 or 3 bags of gummy bears, thinking they'd last me the week, and before the end of the workday, they were gone. Drinking soda. It hurt to move. It hurt to put on shoes to tie your shoes. I mean, every thing that I was doing in a day-to-day, just things that we take for granted, were just painful. And not only that, it affected everything I did, right? Because when you're hurting all the time, you never think you're good enough. So it impacted the work I did. It caused me to work longer, work harder, like compensate for what I knew I didn't look good. So I did other things to do that. Where the contrast today, fitness is a priority for me. You'll hear a lot of coaches say if something's important to you, look at your calendar. Well, you'll look at my calendar and see that there's always time to work out. And that doesn't mean it's the same intensity every day. That doesn't mean it's the same duration. It just means that every day I'm going to do something. I'm going to move my body in some form or fashion, whether it's taking a walk or, full out, blown out 2 hour workout or whatever it is. And that has resulted in so much more energy, as you can imagine, stamina. My mind is clearer. Everything is more efficient and effective in what I do. So it's kind of like a night and day difference. It also improved my mental health. Like I was a very angry person. In fact, I'd say a lot of times. At one time, my wife told me I was the angriest person she knew, and she said it in love, if not to cut me down or anything, but I realized very soon after she said that I too was the angriest person I knew, but I was the cause of my anger. Not my injury, not my weight, not my work habits. It was me. It was my relationship with myself. So that is one thing that I definitely say that the weight loss has helped me is build a better relationship with myself and be more at peace and comfort and maybe not every day like myself, but I certainly love myself, and more importantly, I'm allowing myself to be myself again.
Yeah, and there's a lot of taking personal responsibility in there that I think is a crucial ingredient. Somewhere next to self-belief is like, I'm responsible for all these outcomes. If I'm the angriest person, well, it's because of something I'm doing, and you're not looking elsewhere, exporting that responsibility. With the man, in my life, like, I don't think there's an argument that says don't prioritize your workouts and your health to get leverage on everything else in your life. Like people might say, "Oh, I don't have time or whatever," but like you have more energy when you make time for the workouts. I just don't think there's ever a good argument to not prioritize it.
Yeah, yeah. It's usually it comes down to you don't want to, right? All of us have the same hours in a day, and you can combine activities too, right? I mean, now more than ever, there's these walking desks, there's these desk bikes. You're on, well, a lot of us are on Zoom calls a lot of times. Just pace around your table.
Yep.
Some days I don't get a chance, weather or whatever, I don't get a chance to get outside and work out. But yet at the end of the day, I'm doing 12, 13,000 steps just around my kitchen table, probably wearing the rug out, going to get in trouble with the wife eventually about it. But there's all these little movement patterns you can do in your day, or just every 45 minutes, get up and do 10 body weight squats, do 10 push-ups, whatever. And if you can't do those at this point, just do something like do one, do two, because the simple act of doing it, if you're familiar with atomic habits, it'll build and it'll build, and then you'll start seeing it. And I tell people all the time, when you start doing it, you're going to feel better and you're going to want more of it. If I could give you a pill or a drink, you're going to take it, but I can't. Like this is going to take responsibility and action from every single person if that's what they want to achieve. So yeah, I agree with you. You got to make it a priority, a non-negotiable. And even if it's 5 minutes a day, just start small. You don't have to do what I was doing where I'd go run for hours on end. Again, that's one of the mistakes I made, which we may talk about later. You can go too far with anything. But going somewhere, you're going to realize what too far is. You got to start. So many people told me, "Oh, you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to blow out your knees. You're going to do this. You're going to do that." Well, I never did, for one. And two, how am I going to know? Where is my threshold? Where's the edge? So,
That's a great point. People are gonna like, what are they projecting when they say, "Oh, don't get going because don't do too much." You know what? You're gonna hit a road bump. You're gonna hit a setback, no matter what you do. Getting great at anything. So, and sometimes you don't. So don't worry about things before they happen.
absolutely.
Um, we're going to cover a lot today, but early in this podcast, I want to give them a little juice, a little substance as far as one or two of the simplest things someone can do. Like, what's the lowest hanging fruit? Like, probably not eating 2 bags of gummy bears a day, right? What is like the lowest fruit that's going to yield like a lot of weight loss?
I think the first is do something, right? Whatever your threshold is, if you're not doing anything, let's say you're doing, get a fitness monitor and see how many steps you're walking, and up it by 10% every 2 weeks. Just start doing something. That is a very low hanging fruit. And I know a lot of people say it, but they go from like 2,000 steps to 10,000. Well, that's probably too many, right? Take it small, take real small chunks. And another thing is, if you can get to a point where you reduce or eliminate sugar, that is an unbelievable low-hanging fruit that most people don't understand, because sugar brings inflammation in your body. It makes any pain, any weakness that you've got so much worse. The human body doesn't need sugar to survive. Of course, it tastes good. Why does everything that's bad for us taste good, right? But eliminate sugar, and you'll hear a lot of dogma about, oh, don't even do Diet Coke or don't all this. I'd rather you drink a Diet Coke every now and again than drink five, Cokes or five Mountain Dews or whatever it is. I think those two simple things will go so much further than people think. But again, you've got to have the movement. And really, if I could add a third, do resistance training. The science has shown that resistance training is far better for you over the long term than like cardio at high intensities for long periods of time. Start lifting something. If you can't lift 5 pounds, lift a can. You can do curls with a can. I think one day I was on your thing in a hotel room and I had water bottles because I didn't have access to a gym or whatever. I mean, there are things you can do, but put a little resistance on your body. Modify push-ups, do them on a wall, do them on your knees. I know a lot of times men don't want to do them. They call them girl push-ups or whatever, but it doesn't matter. They're push-ups. They're more than what you did the day before. So, anyways, I know that's three and you asked for two, but those would be my three.
Well, I want to highlight this because those are three that I really agree with, guys. So here's some starting points. Start measuring something. Let's say the best thing to measure at first, if you're getting started, measure your steps, get a little bit more. Number two, minimize the sugar in your life. And then you're starting to look at down the road, you're starting to look at resistance training is what's going to get you further. That's kind of the next thing. With the Diet Coke, if someone's goal is weight loss, yeah, the Diet Coke's probably going to be okay there. Now, if I got someone that's got autoimmune issues and other problems and whatever, maybe we look at eliminating Diet Coke. But if you've got weight loss challenges, for now, that might be all right, I think. No. All right, so now I want to get into easy hard versus hard hard. You're writing a book and you have a podcast called Easy Hard versus Hard Hard. This outlines the theory that you have developed to help people find work that matters to them and helps them focus their time and energy more effectively. Tell us about the concept and how you think it helps people solve their problems in their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. So this concept was a concept that I had to learn. As I mentioned earlier, I did a lot of wrong things. Like even when I started my weight loss, it wasn't for my health or my well-being. It was because I was tired of being fat. I was tired of looking bad in my clothes. It wasn't until I made the shift that while losing weight is hard work, for me, I was making it an easy hard because I didn't make it for me. So there were excuses that came in. If someone called me and said, "Hey, let's go do this, let's go do this," I would probably abandon a workout or forego it to go do it, right? But once I made that switch from the easy hard, which was doing it for others, to the hard, which is I really started seeing the benefits and I wanted to improve my well-being, my relationships, everything about my life, it became a non-negotiable. So the level of dedication, the level of focus that you give to something that you really want to do and not for others. That's the real key. That's the main difference between an easy hard is for the appraisal or the approval of others to what you truly want to do. Then you make this shift that is so dramatic, you just won't understand, because then you don't have to go find motivation. You don't have to find inspiration because every day you're working to something that means something to you. It can be weight loss, it can be a degree, it can be your relationship with your kids, your spouse, whatever it is. You can put that in there, and only you can see what your hard is. I mean, I can give you a lot of examples. I can, and I'm probably one of the only people that can say, okay, when I lost some weight, it was an easy hard, but eventually it became a hard. And then that got replaced with something else because I had achieved that in my life. So then I was able to focus on something else. And you said something earlier about time. When you're starting to focus and put all your effort into something you truly want, your time will become so much greater. I mean, you don't get more time, right? You still have 24 hours, but because you're so focused and dedicated, you're not going to procrastinate. Most people say that procrastination is you're avoiding something you don't like about yourself. You're not avoiding the work itself. But if you love the work you're doing and it's everything you want to do, you're going to go after it. And the whole concept is different than most, because most people talk about how you do the work. I'm talking about what work you're doing. I use the example a lot of time in coaching. If you want to be the best baker in the world, but all you do is focus your time and energy learning how to fix cars, what good is that? You might be spending 18 hours a day fixing cars, but you're never going to become a good baker because you're not focused on that. So you got to decide for yourself, what do I want to do? And then make that why, make that how drive everything else you do.
That's interesting. Like, sounds like that guy should be becoming the best car mechanic in the world, not the best baker, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's a weird example, but think how many times you do that, right? I mean, like so many of us, I mean, you have careers and you have to provide for your family. And so I want to separate the hard from the actual work you're doing. I'm not telling anyone to burn bridges or stop their job to go after their, happy place or whatever, because we've all got to do that. We all have responsibilities, but what are you doing when you're not doing it? And then what can you do outside of work? How can you bring it into your work? Like, let's say you want to get into coaching or you want to get into leadership. Well, you're at an office every day. You have the best, field playground to practice these approaches and these methods. If weight loss is your thing or getting healthy, I mean, you can go to work, just observe people. So many times when we're doing something we don't want to do, we get trapped in it and we don't allow ourselves to grow and to develop ourselves. But in reality, that may be the best place to learn.
The question I like is, I mean, really watching your nervous system and what gets you excited, and do sort of do what you want to do, um, and being in tune with that. But then it gets kind of tricky because, like, I spent a lot of time in the yoga world where people will follow their bliss and they just kind of do what they feel like doing. It's like, well, I feel like playing video games. I feel like eating. I feel like eating pizza. I'm just following my bliss. No, you have to decide on something that is going to be healthy and going to be positive and going to be purposeful and supportive, and it's intrinsic motivation, and it is challenging, and there is a period of boredom at some point maybe, and you persist through that because you're so excited about the outcome. But some people in that other world, they get tricky with that.
Yeah, and that's one of the dangers of any kind of thing you take on. First of all, you use the yogas as an example. Like yoga in its core isn't about that. Yoga is a process that you can apply to anything. It's less about the movement, it's more about the way you live your life. And if you take it to that extreme, you're probably using it as an excuse. You're making whatever you're doing an easy hard because it's inconvenient. In coaching, a lot of times we say the pain of change is greater than the pain we're in. Well, that's what sitting on the couch is going to do for you. And I'm not saying there's not a time and a place for that, right? But if you find yourself doing it repeatedly day after day, observe how you feel when you get off the couch. I know back when I was 354-pound Bobby, I used to sit and watch the entire television coverage of like a US Open or British Open or whatever because I was into golf. I'd get up at the end of the day and just feel terrible. Like I just wasted a whole day. I didn't move, I didn't do anything. Well, how about if I went out and played golf and just listened to it on an earpiece or just watched it the next day, the highlights or whatever? The point is that I'm not here to judge anyone. But intrinsically, you said intrinsic motivation, which is like your internal rewards. But most of what we do is external. And we said earlier about people, poo-pooing you for going for a run or whatever you're doing. That's because they want to self-affirm what their decisions are. And you've got to separate that. You've got to almost be selfish and self-serving because once you do that, then you can serve. I know it sounds counter to the culture. Everyone says don't be selfish, but if you don't take care of you, who will? You know?
I think people really run into that. Like be more, some people need to be more selfish. Some people need to be less selfish. But in this regard, I think you make a great point. Like, say no to other people, prioritize your health, and that means you're going to show up better for them anyway later. And like, do you believe that? Do people believe that? Because that's the fact of the matter.
Yeah, I don't think they believe it because they haven't experienced it. They haven't given themselves the permission to be selfish in that. Like they're selfish just sitting on the couch and playing computer games or video games or whatever. How about if you were like a little bit selfish, instead of that 30 minutes, you went for a walk or you picked up a couple weights or, you know, again, they won't do that, but they'll sit on a couch and they don't get the difference. So one of the keys to finding your heart is giving yourself the permission. Just like any change in life, you have to give yourself autonomy. You have to make decisions. I heard once if you say yes to something, you say no to many things. But if you say no to one thing, you only say no to one thing. That kind of mentality is what you've got to take. Because if you're entertaining a weight loss or a change in your life, that if it's not the priority, it'll never happen. And the more we don't do action that we say we're going to do, our brains are designed to protect us. So if I say I'm going to do 5 push-ups a day and I don't do it on Monday, I don't do it on Tuesday, it's going to be so much harder for me to do it on Wednesday because my brain's going to tell me, Bobby, you didn't do this. Obviously, something's wrong here. And this is danger, danger, danger. Don't allow that. Crush that thought. If you're going to say you're going to do something, another coach told me one day, he said, if you're not ready to do the work, don't do the work. Don't even think about doing the work. And I think that is
Oh, yeah.
so critical to our health and our well-being. If you're going to say you're going to do something, just do it because you build trust, you build safety, and the human brain is designed to protect us from everything, whether it's a tiger or an alligator or ourselves. And remember, we're inside our heads 24 hours a day. So be true to yourself first, because then and only then can you be true to others.
Yeah, and being impeccable with your word, it starts with yourself, and you trust yourself. Do you trust yourself? Are you going to
Yeah.
do what you say you're going to do, and habitually across your life? And one thing I suggest is, are you ready to get started? Are you really ready? Well, I'll ask people on a scale of 1 to 10, what how confident are you that you're going to get this done? And if they say anything less than a 9, maybe an 8, then I say, you know what? Let's make this easier. All right, now is it a 9? Because I want them to feel very confident that they can achieve that. And once they start to get the wins, they start to get the hunger, they start to get the positive feedback loop, then they get the momentum.
Yeah, yeah. Self-visualization is such a critical. A lot of men in particular see it as woo-woo or this, that, and the other. It's not. Like you need to visualize yourself. Like when I started, I didn't visualize myself losing 180 pounds, but I visualized myself getting down to 250. That would have been 100 pounds. That would have been incredible. I'm 6'5". I know it doesn't, no one can see me on the screen, but
Yep.
if I was 6'5", 250, I mean, there's a lot of professional athletes that weigh in as that. Okay. But the thing is that if I would have said, "Oh, I can't do it," or I don't know what my number is, but I said 250 was the number, and then 250 became 220, and then 220 became 200, and then eventually down to 180, which was too low. But the thing is you visualize it, and then you can see it, and then you can chunk it up into smaller things. So you can't go from 354 to 250, but maybe go 354 to 340 to 330, 320, and then you always are doing your feedback with yourself. But again, you got to give yourself permission first to get to the 240.
Yeah.
And then, so you're so right. I mean, it's all about visualization and seeing what the end will be. But I also warn people, don't be too connected to the end result because it's gonna come, and then what? Like, I'm a big David Goggins fan. I don't know if your listeners are or not. He says, what are you gonna do when the music stops? What are you gonna do when you reach your goal? Like, you gotta find something, or if you put everything into that one goal or that one achievement and you get there, you're just going to be let down. How many people have you known lost 30 pounds and then gained 40 back? Because they're on a program, they're doing something, and then they stop. They think it's a one-time thing. No, it's not a one-time thing. The benefits that you're going to get from anything you do you got to work on them a little bit. Now you don't have to work as hard. I don't, you and I are big into the science of working out. They say once you build muscle, you can maintain it with like 1/6 of the effort that it took to build the muscle. I don't know if that's true or not, but the key to that is it's still, you got to do 1/6. You can't do 0/6. You got to keep doing something. But I find when you find what you want, you're gonna do it. You're gonna love it so much. Like I said, if I could give you a pill, you would take it because it would make your life so much better. I know you got to experience it yourself, but all I can do is encourage people and help them take the right steps to get there.
Yeah. Can I touch on the science of what that 1/6 might actually look like?
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
love it.
So if we're talking about maintaining muscle mass specifically, not weight, not conditioning, but if we're talking about maintaining muscle mass specifically, let's say you're a person who comes from a place where you just did 6 out of 6 and you've got the experience and you know your body and you know how to warm up and you know how to do the right form and you're experienced. You can go into the gym and do 1/6 of the sets as long as that one set is extremely intense. But when anything gets extremely intense, you're increasing your odds for injury. So if you're dehydrated, if you're fatigued, if you're not warmed up properly, it could be risky. But technically, you can do 1/6 of the work and maintain the muscle mass. Now, it's not fun to get, I mean, I'm talking like intense as hell, and that's not fun. It might be better to just do 6 sets and just pump and just enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean that whole concept. I think people once you start doing it, you're going to feel what it is, you know. And I talked earlier about the edge, and you may overtrain. You may cross that boundary a few times,
Yeah.
but then you pull back.
Yeah.
Like today for is a great example. I didn't feel like my body was strong today. Okay, so what did I do? Well, instead of, doing the same weight, I reduced it by 20%. And you can even do things where it's slower. You can play tricks, and that's the beauty of like working out or pretty much anything. You can apply it to anything, but obviously my experiences in this working out thing, it's doing something, and when you're done with it, you always feel better. And I know everybody says that, and like to the person, the 354-pound Bobby never believed it, but now it's 100% what I believe in. In fact, those are the days I need to do it the most. If I hit a PR on a deadlift that day, yeah, sure, that's great, but I get more satisfaction, more joy, more energy from doing a workout on the days like today where my body is a little bit physically tired,
Mhm.
but just take it easy. That's the key
Yes.
to all of this. Be patient with yourself, but don't allow yourself to quit. Don't allow yourself not to do something.
If you look at the math of exercise, like at a minimum, you work out 8 times a month. At a maximum, I don't know, 6, maybe 7 days a week is a lot, right? Um, to really get the gains, most people get, around 4, something like that. And if one of those 4 days you kind of, don't feel like showing up and you don't show up, but on one of those 4 days, instead of not showing up, you show up. That's one day a week. So over a year, that's 50 freaking workouts. How much health is in 50 work? Let's go 10 years. You got 500 workouts when you show up on days you don't want to work out. And now, you're out of the mental slump. It'll get you out of the funk. Those 50 are more important than the other 150 that are easy. And those are the difference makers. That's where the leverage is, I think. It's a great point.
Yeah, no, yeah. Compounding interest on anything is better, right? Whether it's money, whether it's knowledge, anything, and certainly in the gym. And again, I just implore everyone, if you're on the fence, try it. It may take a year. When I first started, I was doing all these glutes. I don't have a very developed glutes. It's something I'm working on, and it's going to take a while, but I'm going to get there. And everyone said, "Well, trigger your glutes." I never did it. I never felt it until I did. It took me a year and a half of doing hip raises and squats and all these things. But again, it took a year and a half because I did nothing for 12, 15 years. Don't give up on it, right? And like I said, I just hope everyone can find it, and whatever it is, be your own. Don't be Bobby Shelton. Don't be David Goggins. Don't be Matt Love. Be you,
Yes.
because that is the key to growth, development, everything. It's all personal.
Yeah, that's your life niche is being yourself as much as possible. No one wants what you want. No one gets excited about the things you get excited about. And I think in work, you want to get 10,000 hours doing something. Well, if you enjoy it, you can do 20,000 hours, and that's your leverage from the guy that can enjoy it. So that's where you got to go. That's where you're going to be great.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%. I agree. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I'm totally off on all these questions I generally
I
ask.
know, I know.
This is great, man. Nothing but God, great experience here. Let me see. Where should I go with this? Any unconventional techniques in your coaching or personal health that got you surprising results? Anything unconventional?
Yeah, I would say something that's unconventional, it's becoming more conventional now, is a lot of people think calorie deprivation is the way to go.
Mm,
And if you for the fitness clients I've worked at, you've got to eat to fuel your body. And I talked about earlier, someone who loses 30 but gains 40. your metabolism is your greatest asset when it comes to working out. You've got to feed when you build muscle, it takes more energy, it takes more food to fill it, especially more protein. And I know Matt, you and I are big protein fans, but when you reduce your calories, your metabolism, your body naturally like withdraws, right? It's remember your body is here to protect you. So if you go to 1,000 calories a day, your everything's going to slow down. So when you get off of it and go to 2,000 calories, it's going to take a while for your body to ramp up to that. So an unconventional method in the fitness coaching is that, right? The unconventional in like traditional coaching, performance coaching, just whatever, if it's not fitness related, is this whole hard concept that I've come up with because finding what you truly want to do, not for social media, not because your spouse wants it or your neighbor wants it, because you really want to do it is I'm finding really unconventional to most people, but yet it's so freeing when you're doing something for yourself,
Mhm.
be the nerd, be the guy alone in the room doing this, because one, you're going to enjoy it. Two, you're gonna get these benefits a lot quicker because again, it means something to you. It's 100% you.
Well, the challenge there for people to get there. Do you think that one of the challenges is people breaking free from the expectations of their parents or the close people around them, the circle of friends, or their old identity? Do you find that's the challenge, is breaking out of that and being different?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a huge challenge because we're so inundated with how we're supposed to be, right? I mean, if you open Instagram right now, there'd be 100 people telling you what to do. Um, you know, man, I can't think of the guy's name. It'll come to me probably after this, but there's a physical guy I listen to, and he says, "Beware of the dogmatic people.
Mhm.
If someone tells you you have to do something or this is the only way, be weary of them." But there's so many of those, and some of them are subtle, right? That they'll say, "Well, the only way to lose weight is to drink this drink or take this pill or whatever." It really makes it very difficult for people to break free. And that's what I was talking about earlier, giving yourself the permission. Like give yourself the permission to be different.
Yeah,
And
I think people have to get their own personal experience and then feedback loop it. Did that work for me? I like those are good starting points. These you need to do this. Studies show this. I mean, the best is like studies show. Okay, well, that's a study for other people. Go,
right.
sure, go and test it, and then did it work? And is there some data you can use to kind of verify that it did or didn't work? I like that.
Well, yeah, and another simple example of that is when you move to a new area, which I think you did recently. You're probably following a map or MapQuest or not MapQuest. Look how old I am. You're following Waze or Apple Maps or whatever, but until you learn the area, you're going to start going different ways. Does that mean the way is wrong? No, it means you found a better way. So if you're starting from zero, pick up one of these programs. Join your workout program. It's fantastic and then figure out what works for you and what doesn't. Again, I'm 6'5". What works for me is going to work differently than someone who's 5'5" or someone who has, a different metabolism or whatever. There's not a one size fits all. In science, they say an N of one, which means it's for the individual.
Yeah.
That is so true in any change you make, whether it's working out or trying to improve your business or whatever. You've got to find out what works. I love Burger King used to say, and I'm not saying eat Burger King, that as a disclaimer, but they said have it your way. Well, why don't we have our lives our way? Why do we delegate how we think, how we act, how we behave to others, whether it's someone on a news channel or someone on a social media channel? Take control of your life. It's the only way, people, is you've got to be in the driver's seat. And like I'm telling you, you're going to be selfish for a little bit, but then you're going to be able to give back so much more to other people. I would have never been on this podcast 5 years ago. I hope someone's getting something out of it. So now I'm in a position where I can help people. And I'm in a different position because I've been there. I'm just a normal guy. Like I was inspired by David Goggins, former Navy SEAL. I mean, just really hard guy. Not everyone's going to be inspired by him because he was a Navy SEAL. I find so many people comparing themselves. If I want to work out, they're like, oh, I want to be like LeBron James. Why? LeBron James is at such a different level than you.
Yeah.
Go to someone common around you. Go to someone who's done this. Follow them, and then make it your own because you're going to find out what works for you.
Yeah, and personally, like I'm not very much inspired by Goggins because my values are a little bit different, right? So,
Right.
and I'm just kind of thinking about it, but like, so define what your values are and then see who has been exceptional with those values. And I think that's a better starting point for people. Now, you take a guy who was 354 pounds, and it's like, all right, you know what? A lot of times for that guy, a little more is better, might be a good fit at that point, you know?
Right.
But I guess for me, who like my big goal in life is like I want to be like the best dad, and then I want to support guys with my morning class to be the best showing up dad. And more workout isn't better because we're trying to free up energy so that we can go work, so that we can go parent. And this is just our leverage, and we're being really, really smart and condensed about how we're investing that small amount of time. It's just different where you are, you know?
No, no, and I love it. And to plug my podcast a little bit, I just had an episode last week about Scotty Scheffler, who's the number one golfer in the world. And he had this interview before the British Open saying that he wants to be the best dad, best husband, and if golf ever interferes with that, he'll quit golf. I mean, this guy has seen success we haven't seen since Tiger Woods back in the mid 2000s.
Wow.
And yet he's saying this, and I believe him because, but then, like, again, if that is your priority, then everything else is going to fit into it. Like, you want him to be a good dad. When you go work out, you're going to be more efficient. Because you know that it's going to help you get back to being a dad, being a father, being a husband, whatever you want. So a lot of people think it takes you away from it, but in reality, it makes you more of what you really want, as long as you know that that's your purpose. Now, if being a good father, you're not going to go out and run for 5 or 6 hours every Saturday and Sunday, right? But you probably don't need to. And that's the point. Be where you are. Find yourself where you're at right now, and then make the adjustments needed to give yourself the path to change and betterment.
Yeah, there you go. Any other common limiting beliefs that keep people stuck?
I think the whole thing that I can't do it. It worked for this guy, but it'll never work for me. Everyone likes to make excuses. And you know what they say about excuses? They all stink, right? Get over your excuses. Find a way. If it's
I
really
think
important to you, you will.
excuses are like assholes. They all stink.
Yeah, you know what I was saying. So the thing is like if you what did Henry Ford say? Whether you say you can or you can't, you're right. So that is so common to so many people I talk with is they just think they can't, or they say I don't have time, or I don't have this. If you remove the word don't with I want to do this. Don't say I need, say I want, because you don't need to do anything. You want to do it, then you will do it. So get rid of that limiting belief.
Nice. Um, got at least two or three quotes out of you today already. This is good. Uh, what comes to mind when I say, what's the best advice you've ever received?
Best advice I've ever received was if you say you're going to do something, do it. And that was a professional advice I got probably 20 years ago, but it applies to what I was talking about earlier. If you say something to yourself, do it. Follow through on what you say or don't say it. Because doing anything and being honest and truthful is like the gateway to everything. It frees your mind, it gives you better behavioral cognizance. Everything improves by that. So yeah, that is the best advice I've ever got. Just do what you say you're going to do.
What you say you're going to do? All
Yeah.
right. Any really bad advice that you do not like that you hear a lot?
Yeah, I mean, in the fitness space, it's do all this cardio and never pick up a weight. I mean, that is terrible advice. Do a combo of both. Again, find what works for you, find what your goals are, of course, but calorie restriction, yeah, just throw that out. Eat the right foods, eat clean foods, you know, do it. Also, this follow your passion. Make sure I don't like that because a lot of people don't do the your part. If it's your passion, follow it. Don't follow the passions of me or anyone else. Do what you want to do. So those are two on both sides of the coin.
There's one guy, I think it's Scott Gallagher, and I'm not sure if I agree with this or not, but he says, don't follow your passion, follow what you're good at, and go do that professionally. He's talking about life and business.
Yeah.
Interesting thing to think about. But what are you good at? Maybe you like it if you're good at it, but something to consider there.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting point. But what if you're good at isn't what you want to do? I mean, it's like you
Yeah.
can become good at something else. If you're good at finance, then nothing's going to stop you from being good at something else. And again, I'm not saying burn the boats. don't, Tom Billio is one of the guys that says, don't, he's not burning bridges. I don't believe in that. But just because you're good at something doesn't mean you really want to do it, right? We all have innate abilities. And I understand his perspective is like that he's a money making guy and a marketing guy and all that. And I like some of the things he says. But yeah, I think following your passion too much or blindly can get you in a lot of dark holes.
It makes me think about how I actually have had that. Like I was a really, really good soccer player and probably could have, if I liked it, I really could have been great, but like I was trashing my body and my mind when I was playing at a high level. And I was like, man, I really could have been great. But then I think about how like I never think about soccer. I don't care. I like to watch it. I liked the camaraderie, the bond, but like the actual sport of it, like I never wanted to be the best. It just wasn't that great. So that's an example of something that I was good at that like I just didn't want to do. So like I'll probably end up coaching soccer just as a tool to connect and bond and develop my sons.
Yeah.
Um, all right, moving on here. What's the biggest mistake you've ever made, and when did you learn from it?
The biggest mistake I ever made goes back to the whole easy hard versus hard concept. I was chasing things, but not for me. I was doing things for approval of others, but really when I cut to the bone, I was trying to get approval for myself. I didn't allow myself to be happy with where I was at and what I was doing. And that's a miserable place to be because you've got to, whatever change we're talking about, you've got to come to terms with who you are today, realize why you're there, and know that like working out or getting a new job or whatever is probably going to help you in a lot of ways. But if you don't allow yourself to be you and you can't live in your own skin, it's not worth it. So really don't make the mistake I did. Really find who you are and tap into that because it's going to take away your anxiety, your depression. You're going to be more self-motivated, more self-determined. Everything starts with you and finding yourself is I wish I would have found that earlier because as you know, Matt, I didn't really find it until this year. So a lot of the things I did were still for other people and trying to, if I do this, then I'll be happy. Well, no, I was happy. I could have been happy all along. And then just imagine how much more enjoyable all this process would have been. Everyone says enjoy the process. I don't think you can enjoy the process if you don't enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Can I challenge you with a hard question?
I love it.
All right, you're in a coaching session, okay? That's the context of this. And you see this with a lot of younger people. So let's say it's a younger person and they say, Bobby, but I don't know who I am. How do I find out who I am? How do I find out what I want? What are some like good questions or thoughts or psychological things you can bring people through to reveal that?
I think deep down inside, all of us do know who we are. And I think when you remove if you can get in a quiet place and remove all the pressures and all the thoughts, remove the negative thoughts from your head, right? Because you, like I said, you're going to be your own worst critic. Remove all that and decide, figure out a time in your life that you were the most happy. Most of us can do it, even if it takes a while. What were you thinking there? What were you feeling there? And that's probably who you are. You hear people as we get older, they're like, oh, I feel the same as I did when I was 16. Well, that's because you are the same. Your body, your vehicle's getting a little bit older, but you're still the same person. So you got to tap into that period where you were the happiest and the most content with yourself. And I think that's what most people do because they try to fix where they're at now and they don't go back to the original state and that core of who they are.
There you go. Um, we may have covered this, but really drive this home. So personally, on the podcast, like we get people that have achieved some things and they're motivated and they're inspired and they're fueled up emotionally. Um, what motivates you? What inspires you? What is your personal fuel?
My personal fuel is to help as many people not go down the path I am. I put my eighth friend in the ground this winter from suicide. And I lived a depressed existence, but I can't even imagine the pain they are. And I just wonder if anything that I've learned could really help someone. So I truly hope that everything I say, I live, and I do can help someone else pull themselves out of the muck and become a better person, a happier person, because being unhappy is miserable. And that fuels and motivates everything I do today. Because again, I found out that's what I want to be as a person. So that's everything I do, whether it's academics, anything I write, anything I read is all centered around that, which gives me purpose, motivation, direction, everything.
Yeah, that's great. That'll keep you inspired. That's deeply emotional, right? And it's emotional fuel. Perfect. All right, really switching gears here. We're gonna get
Okay.
into some tactical stuff, but first, AI is big right now. Um, are you doing anything in your business, and this could be anything in your business or in your health tracking that involves which AI tools are you excited about right now?
Yeah, I've really recently embraced AI. AI is fantastic for research. Someone said the other day, you can get, I think it was Mike Rowe's podcast, 95% of the information that's available you can get within seconds now. Um, I love AI. However, I do think that people need to put boundaries on AI. You can go to ChatGPT is the one I use the most commonly. Build your own ChatGPT, put limiters on it. Don't just go out and say, I want to hear what Bobby Shelton says. Take the articles, take the book, take whatever you've got and put that in there and say, base it on this. Use it as an advisory to generate your thought. Like I've created from a business perspective, I have a virtual board of directors now, and it's all business leaders that I recommend. So I'll ask it business questions, and you can even ask it things like, well, how would you monetize this or whatever. That's a great one. From the health perspective, I mean, wow, you can take your blood work and start putting it in there. I mean, you can read all these books or find people that you admire and find these thresholds because every blood panel is different. If you go to different doctors, they run it for different things. You can really start tracking where you're at and start seeing where you are, which is I'm a huge proponent of. I know we didn't get into it today, but you talk about measuring something, your blood is the greatest thing. And having a record of that and going against and in reality, that's what the doctors are doing too, right? The difference is a lot of times they're not looking at the comprehensive view, whereas with Chat GPT or whatever AI tool you use, you can put it in there. And I know people are worried about their privacy or whatever, but you don't, they know who you are anyways, but you don't have to, copy and paste the thing in there. You can type in the cholesterol numbers or the ApoB or whatever you're tracking and then just see where it is. So I think it's fantastic, but I do think that you've got to put parameters around it because the way you think. And that's one, a lot of people just use it as an enhanced Google search. And that's great, but you're opening yourself up to everything. And you probably don't believe everything. I mean, you've already said, hey, this person doesn't inspire me. This person will rule them out. Just say, hey, I don't want to hear from this guy's perspective. That's great. Make it your own.
Yeah. Um, the stuff I've kind of picked up on so far is we have to, when we're using the AI, is we have to be really clear about the outcomes we want in our life. So I want this. So you have to communicate that information. If my outcome is this, and then you describe the context that you're creating, and then really maybe even get into your beliefs and values a little bit, and almost have that copy and paste or like memorized inside of the AI. You said something about your virtual board of directors. What is that?
Yeah, I just set it up where I took, five or six business leaders that I admire and that like you said, their values, the way they conduct themselves. And I took specific writings that they had, whether it was a book they published or articles, and I fed it into the back end. And then you just ask it, I mean, you can ask it anything. Like if I,
Is this like a
take,
project? Like, did you create a project and then you put those into a project and then it
yeah,
does it there? Okay.
yeah. So I made it its own set, and this is all in Chat GPT, but you can do it on Gemini or some of the other ones that are out there. Claude, I think they're all the same. And then you just ask it specific questions, and then as you ask it questions, you said this earlier, make sure it gives you the feedback you want. Because like if you go into Chat GPT and just type something normal, like let's say you put an article in there that you write, what do you think of this? They're always going to be positive, right? It's a lot of self-affirmation. So I even taken some where I say, be extremely negative, and
Oh,
really get to the bottom of it because I don't want a mirror. I don't want a sycophant. I want to really know like where my thinking is flawed. And another thing is be very specific about where you pull the information. Like for us who are coaching, men mostly, like point where you want to get it from. What's men's biggest complaint on like LinkedIn, what's that one, TikTok? Because then it's going to comb all those things. Because if you just type in what are men from 30 to 55's problem, you're going to get things like erectile dysfunction and all these health problems. Well, that's not what we're focused on because we're not in the position to help someone with that. So the more specific you can be, and again, when you create a chat GPT, I can't remember what it is, but there's like another little tab. It's over there on the left-hand side when you do it. You can start typing in things you want and then play with it and then just keep modifying it until you get what you want.
Wow. You mentioned blood work earlier. So what I do is I went to a naturopathic doctor, and don't confuse naturopathy with homeopathy. Those are two different things. This naturopathic doctor, she did more extensive, more detailed, tested more things in my blood. So I had like pages and pages of blood work. So I just dumped that PDF into ChatGPT and I said, all right, based off of this, give me some feedback. And its go-to was like a Western medicine model. I actually didn't even do that. I knew it was going to do that. So I said, all right, give me the perspective, act like a functional medicine doctor, act like a naturopathic doctor, act like a Ayurvedic doctor, act like a Chinese medicine, act like an African doctor, anything but the Western medicine for me. And then I think the functional medicine was kind of the most appropriate. And I put all that data in, and it gave me like, okay, here's an issue. Okay, here's an issue based off this, and here's some recommended options and treatments for those things. And it was on point. It was with some things I was already kind of working with that I knew existed with energy and detox, and I won't get into the details, but the feedback was really good and really interesting. And I'm thinking about Western doctors, and I'm like, what do they do anyway besides read blood work? And then, as a human being who's probably stressed out and tired and already seen 50 people that day, then they give you recommendations that are usually influenced by whatever hospital or pharmacy needs them to make certain recommendations.
Yeah, yeah, that whole standard of care. Yeah, I mean, it truly is amazing what you can get off the internet, and then, like I said, you have that as your ally. And that doesn't mean again, I'm not saying don't go to a doctor if you break a bone or need, orthopedic surgery or hernia or something like that. Yeah, but the most things you can do, you can walk into a LabCorp or Quest, whatever you've got around you, draw your own blood, throw it in there, and then find what works. And I love your approach with the functional because they're going to do something that's not a pill. Like a few months ago, I started seeing my blood pressure increase, and I'm like, well, what's going on? Well, I thought about my life and looked at things, and I was like, well, I haven't been doing as much cardio. Well, simply running like a mile or two a week, like completely lowered my blood pressure. I don't need to go back on blood pressure medicine, which is another thing about my weight loss we didn't talk about. I'm medicine free. I'm 47 years old, and but again, you got to measure all that thing, and you got to go. So yeah, you can find. I love AI, especially for health. I mean, I've even gotten to the point where people in my neighborhood will give me their blood work and want to see my opinion. And I am not an MD. I don't claim to be an MD. I don't want to be an MD, but I don't need to be, right? There's enough people out there, Casey Means, Dr. Mike Hyman, Mark Hyman. I don't know if people will follow them or not. You can follow what they say and they give you everything. And if you love Dr. Mark Hyman, just say, what does he think about this? And boom,
Yeah.
ChatGPT will give it to you.
Yeah, he's a good guy to follow. I like him.
Yeah.
Um, all right. How about supplements? Do you have a top three favorite supplements?
Yeah, I love creatine. The studies and everything show that creatine is not only good for muscle recovery, but also for your brain function and to help penetrate the blood-brain barrier. So that's probably the only supplement I take. But if you
Seems low,
consider
seems low risk too with the creatine. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, very low risk. It's the most studied, and again, I know you said earlier what is studies, but it is the most studied substance in the world, and you're starting to see it like in insured drinks and in nursing homes and all this stuff. So it's very, very safe. Again, you don't need to spend a ton of money on the fancy ones. Just get the monohydrate. At $20, $30 will get you. But make sure it's clean, make sure it's pure. Again, you wouldn't be careful with that.
I'm tempted to put my sons on creatine as they grow older. Like I'm looking
Oh
for
yeah.
risk there. Like I mean, I don't want to do anything too crazy, but like I'm at least going to feed them the red meat that's got the creatine. But like I don't know. I'm going to consider that.
Yeah, yeah, and then there is some new literature out there that says like there you can really start it kind of because your body produces creatine, so it's not unnatural. But to get the amount that you need from our food supply, which we could talk have another whole podcast about food supply, it's just not there anymore because of all the antibiotics and all the grain that we feed these animals. There's not as much as we need to. Um,
Yeah.
I'm also a big fan, not a supplement, but I love taking zinc, vitamin C, and quercetin because those three, I heard a podcast about 5 years ago. The guy said he did this combo and it's 50 milligrams of zinc, 500 of quercetin, and then vitamin C is whatever. I think it's like 100, maybe it's 1,000. I don't know. It's standard,
It's
right?
it's 500 to zero point 0.5 to 1 gram is kind of one dose.
Yeah, yeah. And this just gentleman was saying it was a doctor. He said he hadn't been sick in 30 years. And I'm like, wow, that's great. I started on that routine. It's been like 4 years now. I haven't been really sick at all.
Yeah,
So it's
that's pretty standard, like the immune function protocol, zinc, C, and quercetin. We got a guy in the class that just started the job where he flies around a lot. This dude's getting sick all the time. He's gonna have the best immune system ever. He's hitting that pack pretty regularly.
yeah, yeah. And I mean it's amazing what you can do. I mean, you know, you need the quercetin to push the zinc and the vitamin C into your body. Vitamin D too, because most people are very deficient. They say if you're 200 miles north or south of the equator, you're not getting enough vitamin D. But check that because you can have too much of that and whatever. And then I also take fish oil as well because I don't eat fish, and I check my omega 3 to 6 ratio quite often,
Really?
and because by
How do you
just like a fish.
test that? I've never tested that. How do you test that?
There's a lot of just, standard blood tests that you can go. A guy that I really like that's got a lot is Dr. Stephen Cabral. It's an outfit out of Texas. I mean, you can find anything, and that's for another thing. I really dove into like what foods affect me, inflammation, whatever, and that's one of the simple tests. I think it's at the time I took it was like 40 to 60 bucks. Your doctor may do it. You may have to fight it for him. It's like your fasting insulin. They're always doing your fasting glucose, but really that doesn't tell you much because it's a moment in time, But a fasting glucose insulin is like $10, and it'll tell you so much about how your body's reacting to things. But again, I know I'm way off topic there, so I apologize.
And vitamin D and testosterone, I think, guys, that's not usually standardly tested. Like test vitamin D and testosterone. Those are really important. And don't jump on the TRT. There's other things you can do first.
Yeah, a lot of people they think that their problem is testosterone, and really it's like a vitamin D deficiency. You're absolutely right. I mean, you start boosting that up and get it to a good level. And again, I think I take 5,000 IU's a day. I know people who are really deficient, they have those time release 10,000 IU's or even 100,000 IU's or whatever. But again, you can find it, and like I said, blood work is the best thing about modern medicine today is that blood work has gotten so cheap that you can walk in to these clinics and you don't need a doctor to do it anymore. Now you have to pay out of pocket, so I know that's a barrier to a lot of people, but you can get so much information for $200-300 a year and just space it out and then just start making your modifications on that. It's just really crazy. But I know I'm way off topic.
Oh, great. I love this. I'm like, that's how I am with like I have a budget. Like I don't like to buy nice things, but man, do I spend on my health. I'm like because for me it's like I value my health 1,000%. I'd spend it anyway, but I'm also spending it to figure out like, what there is to learn. So like, all right, that didn't work. All right, now I can tell all my clients forever that that didn't work. So I'm always spending on all this testing. And yeah, you're like, I think people need to accept the fact that the Western medical insurance model is not going to pay for anything that actually helps you. Like, like you have to pay cash to like actually get results that matter and last and cure your health.
Yeah, yeah, and get those blood working. Like I said, look at like I said, Hyman has a lot that he recommends. Casey Means, she's a glucose monitor. I can't think of the name. Levels is the brand that she's got, and then there's Dr. Peter Attia as well. They all have books out there, and you don't need to read the book because they're long and they're medical or whatever. I read them. Just go back to AI. Just say summarize this, summarize the blood markers and the tests that you need to do, and or go listen to a podcast because they're all out there.
All right, so to summarize Bobby's supplements, creatine, high upside, low downside. He's got an immune pack. I totally agree with zinc, vitamin C, of course, vitamin D. Side note, with the vitamin D, I've never seen anybody overdose it too much, but I'm the guy that always takes everything too far. And as it turns out, taking 10,000 units a day for 20 years or 10 years or something can cause some liver and potential gallbladder issues if you really don't need it that high. Um,
Yep.
I'm with you. I think about 5,000 units is probably really safe for almost everybody.
Yeah. Again, check with, with people. I mean, make sure that it's right for you. But yeah, at the same time, I don't see any downside. And I think most people are going to find they're vitamin D deficient to some degree.
Yeah, and it's going to solve a lot of problems when they fix it. Everyone in the hospital is vitamin C deficient.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And then that third one, fish oil. I've been taking fish oil for a while, a lot of upside. That omega 3 to 6 ratio can be tested. I'm watching a video with another one, Dr. Rhonda Patrick. And
Mm,
she says that, like, did you know that having a bad omega 6 to 3 ratio is actually going to cause more disease than smoking? It's worse than smoking to have a bad omega 3 ratio to say.
yeah,
So wow, like how important is like can fish oil be? And the company I like, the brand I like is Nordic Naturals. I've tested a lot of them
yeah.
over the years, and Nordic Naturals has been the most reliable. It doesn't burp up a fishy taste, and I get the results. My clients get the
I,
results.
I I like that brand too, and you're right. That fish burp is oh man, especially for someone like me who does not like the taste of fish at all. It's like oh yeah.
All right, we have really gotten into it here. So now we got our rapid fire portion of the podcast, Bobby.
All
Uh,
right.
Loosely defined as rapid. We'll see how it goes. Uh, what is your biggest health and fitness myth that drives you crazy? What myth drives you crazy?
Again, it's cardio. You need a balance, and weightlifting. Thank goodness it's starting to become more popular. But do some resistance training, whether it's bands, whether it's dumbbells, whatever. You don't have to lift heavy, but the heavier you can lift, the more impact it's got on your bone health, muscle health, everything. So, cardio is great. You're coming from a guy who used to run a lot of hours a week, 100-mile weeks, whatever. It's good, and if you like doing it, do it, but counteract it. Do some weightlifting, do some resistance training.
Nice. All right, one exercise. You can only do one exercise for the rest of your life. What's that one exercise?
Oh, that's easy. Deadlift.
Oh, wow, that's funny. Um, yeah. All right. That's your favorite exercise. All-time most hated exercise.
Man, this one's gonna come with a nuance, but I do not like squats at all. Again, it's an excuse that I'm tall, but yeah, I
Longer
just
limb people have to lean a lot more forward. It just doesn't go as well. Yeah.
yeah. A squat to me is like, and I have neuropathy from the knee down as well, so it kind of makes it unstable. But I do not like squats, but I'll still do them. It's just lighten up the weight and or do body weight squats. So just because I don't like it doesn't mean I don't do it.
Good answer. When you're short on time, what is your go-to healthy meal?
I really like to keep a lot of clean, grass-fed organic, like meat sticks. Again, protein I think is one of the biggest components of my diet. So I try to get, I weigh in around 200 now, 205, but I still try to eat 220 grams a day. So I find it fills me up. And then also just make sure a lot of water. Water is always around me with an electrolyte mix. I personally use Element, but there's a lot of other good ones out there. Just to, make sure your body, because the more hydrated you are, the less hungry you are, and, get that protein in and your water.
Yeah, in this summer heat, Element's got a can, like a 16-ounce can for guys that like drinking out of cans, you know? Uh, and it's like it's salty, but it tastes delicious. No caffeine, no calories, and it'll get you your electrolytes way up after a sweaty workout. So like in the morning when I work out hard and I'm sweating, I hit that and it really refuels me and gets my brain fueled up for the day. It's like a big
Yeah.
sodium, I think.
And the can one's really great too. They got one flavor in the can that you can't get in the package. And I've written them like a thousand times and be like, hey, give me the little package because it tastes so good. And I can't remember what it is to save my life right now. But oh, it's like cherry limeade. It is so good. I love it. I love it. But you got to get it in the can. So,
Yeah. What was the brand of it's not jerky, but it's like a beef stick. Which brand of beef sticks do you like?
um, Paleo Valley
Yeah,
is
yeah.
a
They're
real
like
clean one.
moist. That's one I like a lot too. They're very moist.
Yeah. They're a little smaller, so throw a couple more in the bag than you think you need.
You need three of them, four of them, even in one sitting. You really could.
Yeah. But and again, another thing I really love of theirs too, if you haven't tried it, is try their collagen. They have this one, it's a chocolate flavored, and man, it is like the most delicious thing in the world. And collagen doesn't give you as much protein as like a protein supplement or a powder or whatever, but still, if you just throw that in, oh, so delicious. Kind of tastes like those chocolate donuts, you get in the gas station in the rolls and they're
Oh,
covered in
geez.
chocolate. Yeah, I love them to death.
I saw Paul Check was working with the Paleo Valley brand, promoting them. He's kind of a purist about things. So I piggybacked a little bit of trust on that brand and that company because of his affiliation with them.
Yeah, they're a real clean brand. I like the company. I'm not here to promote anyone, but I personally like them. And like I said, just a little bump and a little change of taste. I also like to take it with like some there's some coconut yogurt. It's called Cocoa June, and you mix it together with a little peanut butter, freeze it up. You get like a little ice cream treat. It's so good, so delicious.
I mentioned that guy Paul Check. He's really turned into something recently that's outside of the health industry. But his book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, is a book that kind of grabbed me in a way that I needed it about 20 years ago, and I like that book a lot. It's called How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy by Paul Check.
Hmm.
Any books? Don't It doesn't have to be a health book. What book really inspired and influenced you the most?
The greatest book I've read this year, and I'm an avid reader, is The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan. And I think he co-wrote with a guy named Dr. Benjamin Harrison. He also wrote Who Not How, if you've heard of that.
Yeah.
10X is better than 2X. But The Gap and the Gain, going back to the easy hard versus hard hard, the ability to look at your situation and look at the positives and not look at all the negatives. Just a fantastic book. Another book that's a little longer book, but a very short book that I read recently is called The Stoic Edge, and Ken Davenport is the guy who wrote that. If you're into Stoicism, which I certainly am, because the Stoics believed in a way that was very simple and very inspiring, and hey, a lot of self-leadership, a lot of self-responsibility. I think the Stoic Edge is 96 pages. It's probably the most comprehensive, easiest introductory to Stoicism that you could ever get. So I highly encourage those books.
What if it was like a Stoic book, but it was like this long, complicated book? You'd be like, wait a second, that's not Stoicism. That's not very simple.
Well, Ryan Holiday, who is like
Right.
the stoic guy, I love him, but man, most people aren't going to read 800 pages, and even sometimes I have to do it over months. But yeah, no, those two books, and of course, I would be remiss to say, David Goggins Can't Hurt Me. I love that book too.
So when is this easy, hard book come out?
I think it's going to be the fall. Right now, I'm in the final editing, getting it ready. So probably early fall, it'll come out. But in the interim, like I said, I'm outlining it in the podcast or on my Substack, which I guess we'll link in the show notes here.
Yeah, we'll have to get all those links. I'm gonna kind of wrap this thing out in a second and we'll get all that. Last fun question. Favorite hype song to work out to?
Man, I grew up in the 90s and I love Rancid, so Ruby Soho is like my go-to. And then to show a little different side of me, I also love Megan Trainor. I am a huge fan of
Really?
hers. Yeah, yeah. And I don't know the name of the song. It's like I want to thank me for being myself. I want to thank me and nobody else. It's based on some quote that some actors did one time, but I love Megan Trainor, so but yeah, so those are my two pump up songs for sure.
Yeah, I remember Snoop Dogg was giving his acceptance speech when he was getting like a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and he says, very humbly, he says, "And I'd like to thank me for doing all this hard work. I'd like to thank me for showing up every day. I'd like to thank me for being so optimistic in the face of challenges and struggle. I'd like to thank me, be a little selfish also. Like,
Yeah, yeah, but you know what? He drove himself, right? It goes back to this whole self thing that we talked about earlier. I mean, you are your North Star and you guide yourself to where you want to go. But again, be humble. You got to thank a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people have made me to the person I am. I mean, to my wife, she supported me the whole way in my weight loss journey, my academic journeys, everything I've done. She's very supportive, and so yeah. But no, I don't know why I love Megan Trainor. I think it was when I was starting to run a lot. I called it seventh grade girl music, and somehow she like clicked to me. And so I, I know it's weird, but I love it.
I'll do a little bit of Olivia Rodrigo. She got me
Oh, yeah,
hooked.
there you go.
Yeah, yeah. It's like kind of off, but like, all right, sure. It
Yeah,
worked.
yeah, uh,
All right, so let's talk about a lot of great information, Bobby. Thanks a lot. Very dense, a lot of substance. I really appreciate it, man. It's great having you here. If people want to get your book, or at least get reminded that it's coming out? Is there an email list they can get on? Yeah, we'll put as many links as we can in here, but
Yeah.
where are you going to be showing up, and where can they expect to see, you and your stuff?
Yeah, I mean, right now, most of my stuff is on LinkedIn, and it's I kind of self-promoted it, Dr. Bobby Shelton. So you can look at me there. You can always email me, and that's just bshelton@battlecatcoaching.com. I haven't really set up like another email address yet, but again, I monitor all that. And again, if anyone has any questions or follow-up or anything they want, please reach out to me because this is a journey and I'm just here as a guide and I want to help everyone, find their hard and the work that matters for them. So B Shelton at BattleCat Coaching, just as it sounds, .com. I love cats, so
Yeah.
uh,
And guys, if anything inspired you or was interesting and you want to meet Bobby, send him a message, man. You're not bothering him. He loves talking about this stuff. So do I.
yeah, it's great. It's great. And please just reach out to me. No question is dumb. No question is gonna bother me because like I said, this is the greatest gift I can give from what I went through is to help someone else achieve, and we can all do it. So to keep the faith and use resources. Don't be scared to ask. That's another flaw in me. A lot of times I'm a middle child. I want to do everything myself. It's again another great book, Who Not How. If you don't know how, find someone who can help you.
And,
Matt, me, whoever.
and people that are getting started, you said the pain of change is greater than the pain you're in, or
Yeah.
the pain you're in is great. How's
Well,
that?
the pain of making a change is greater to you than the pain you're in. So, like, if you want to lose weight, the thought of going to the gym 3 times a week or 4 times a week is greater than where you're at now, sitting on the couch feeling miserable. Like, you can't mentally take yourself into the gym, so you just stay where you're at. Like, you got to break those barriers down. You got to try it and see how painful it is. I guarantee you, it's not going to be as painful as you think.
Wow, there you go. Bobby, let's wrap it up with that, man. It's an honor to have you here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, my friend.